Hey, WFO Universe. Want something for free? Send a self-addressed stamped envelope with plenty of postage, and we'll load it up with free WFO stickers. That's right, I said free. Send your envelope, care of Castello Media /WFO stickers to P.O. Box 848353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. Do it now.
The preseason test, the test in the West, or the Pro Winter Warm-Up, or whatever you want to call it, you cannot go. But you can watch, and because of one specific person. Let's get into it. Joining us now, our great friend and media partner at CompetitionPlus.com. He is the editor and will be out there, and he is the reason we will all be able to watch the test out there at Wild Horse Pass, the Pro Winter Warm-Up. Joining us now, Bobby Bennett. Bobby, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, Joe. I thought you'd forgotten about me.
Get out of here. You know I would never forget about you, but I was taking a little time to myself during the winter break. But now I'm fired up and excited about what we're going to see. I'm super stoked about so many different things out there on the NHRA Mellow Yellow Series Tour, and you are going to be headed out there to Wild Horse Pass, just like our previous guest, Todd Smith, to bring us the test. Thank you for that. Tell us about it.
No problem. Well, we've hired Warren Evans to come in and produce our one and only live feed from the Pro Winter Warm-Up in conjunction with Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park and the Professional Racers Organization. We're definitely not getting into the live streaming business except for this weekend every year.
Well, that's
We're going to do this program, and it will be run through our Competition Plus TV property. We've been dabbling in video ever since we were 2 weeks into Competition Plus. When we launched Competition Plus, and it was right around the 1st of October, 1999, we put our first videos on Competition Plus.
Oh, wow. Well, I think it's great. This test, I keep saying, for personal and selfish reasons, it was really great when it was in West Palm Beach, Florida, because I could sleep in my own bed. And more importantly, a market that doesn't get to see nitro cars gets to see nitro cars. But that was all selfish. What was important is that the Pro Winter Warm-Up, the preseason test, has developed into a thing we have all come to expect. This is the unofficial start to the season, or it is the official start to the season minus official competition, however you want to mention it. We get to see all the people and personalities, many of the cars, and the teams that will be competing at the Lucas Oil Winter Nationals are going to be there. And you're going to bring it to us on Competition Plus TV.
Yes, and we're excited about that. It's just another evolution of our Competition Plus TV brand. That we brought you original programming through our Legends to Series and Storytellers, and now our next adventure is into the live streaming world, which we will at the end of the day still have a camera crew there doing video features like we've always done, and we will have our notebook full of photography and news and notes for those that just don't care for video and like to read about stuff.
Read? Who likes to read anymore? But I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding.
Man, I'm a writer and I can't stand to read.
No, you know what? Listen, it's there's a different time for different things. Sometimes you're reading, sometimes you're watching, hopefully sometimes you're listening. For instance, right now, are people, are they driving down the highway? They shouldn't be watching a screen, man. They should be listening through their dash or through their, earbud in their ear, their Bluetooth headphones, and listening to WFO podcasts. That's it. That's the whole thing, is we have to cover all the different possible spectrum of how drag racing fans and participants get their drag racing news. We here at WFO Radio have focused on the audio. I've always been a talk radio guy. And so I think it's all working out really well. You mentioned Legend the Series. What's next?
Well, I'm happy to announce that we are just putting the finishing touches on the first episode of Season 5, which not only will you get to watch the the testing from Phoenix. When the testing's over, be ready for the premiere of the new season of Legends, the series featuring the one, the only, 4-time world champion, not 3-time world champion, 4-time world champion, Shirley Muldowney.
Wow, Shirley. And I can tell you folks, all you listeners out there, that Bobby, who's ever so kind to send me a preview every once in a while, like, the rough cuts, the 5-minute long preview. My goodness, Bobby, this one could end up being your best one just because Shirley is Shirley, and also has, is very, very open and clear about how challenging it was to go what she went through.
Oh, yeah. And, one of the things when you talk to an absolute legend like Shirley Muldowney, and make no bones about it, she's an uppercase legend, not a lowercase. And she fought, and the stuff that came out that was off the record, stuff that was said to her over the years, when those early years, Joe, if that had been our sister or our mother or our daughter, we would have been in fisticuffs on a regular basis. I'm embarrassed to say that men acted that way.
Wow. Well,
yes.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I know how it is and was. First of all, it's still that way. Maybe not as overt, but it's happening. It's maybe not happening as commonly, and there's a lot of evolved people, but it still happens, man. The lady racers out there, the women of the world, are still getting a lot of negative response here and there.
Yeah, and the one thing about this video, we always set as a target point for 30 to 35-minute episodes. This one's coming in at just a hair over 50 minutes.
Wow, that much great content that you
should see the stuff that we had to cut out.
Wow.
Just to make weight,
Sure.
And her accomplishments, her accolades, this award, that award, races won. You know what? We don't need to rehash all of that. What we do need to rehash is the stuff about, people didn't know that she gets lost sometimes in the super stock talk because she wasn't a Dick Landy or Ronnie Sox, but she too raced super stock back in the day. And, the stuff about, how men would spend all week talking about and denying that they ever got outrun by this girl racing down on Depot Road. Yet after she becomes a 1977 world champion, they all come out of the woodwork and say, "Oh yeah, I lost to you back in the day racing."
That's hysterical.
And oh yeah, and it's the things, and I'm going to tell you, the one chapter, and it doesn't go into the latter years of her racing career. It really kind of leaves off after the accident in Montreal. The fact that she was able to come back and race should tell you every bit how tough that lady is. I'm going to tell you, just think about having your thumb ripped off of your hand, having your foot completely twisted off of your leg. And if you look at some of the recovery pictures of her when they're trying to extricate her from the race car, you'll see that her foot is turned around backwards.
Wow. Well, I've been able to spend a little time with Shirley over the years with our NHRA, Legends program. She's come on WFO, but really though, the public stuff is different from the behind the scenes, and I know you've been there too, and in the media center and these conversations and everything, and it's just, I don't want to say it wasn't fair because life isn't fair, so we shouldn't really expect that, but it was really unfortunately hard. It shouldn't have been that way. And I know you started off by saying, you're embarrassed for what she had to deal with. And that is, what can we learn from that, Bobby? What can we learn? What can we say? A lot of people, they'll go out there and they'll mock, in our modern culture, like any attempt to soften You know what I mean? Any attempt, like, oh, we can't bully people anymore. Oh, these kids, they got to be tough and just deal with being bullied at school. But really, though, right is right, wrong is wrong. And what was going on, like, belittling someone for trying to pursue their dreams back then, that was happening a lot. And she said, excuse me, like, this is BS. I'm going to bulldoze right through it. And she did.
She absolutely did. And in those early days, she says one of the things that she's most proud of is the female racer angle. But in her early days, all she wanted to be known as is a racer. Sorry, I didn't mean to make to break up your men's club here, but I want to play the game too. And we always look at those. Take NFL football for example. For every what's his name, Aaron Donald that's out there, think of the guys like Alan Page or Mean Joe Green that paved the way for them, or Deacon Jones, any of those big guys that had to play that, or quarterbacks like, Roger Staubach that took all kinds of unreal hits. So a Tom Brady could be out there to last till he was, 42 years old. In the same token, when these girls go out there to race, they go out there to race because a lady named Shirley Muldowney paved the way and made it acceptable to have a female in the professional ranks. I'm not saying she was the first ever female drag racer, but I'm saying she was the first to pave the way in that arena.
Well,
and
Janet Guthrie and other forms of racing, like they are celebrated, and they should be celebrated. But when it comes to success, Shirley was unparalleled for the time. In fact, right now I feel like, she happened too early. The coverage wasn't there. We've seen it with Danica Patrick. She's a multimillionaire. She's had great success, and she's people mock Danica, but Danica can drive. She just couldn't beat the best of the best during her era, but she's like the greatest female stock car driver that's ever lived ever. Shirley exceeded on every level before, like so far before society had even caught up. And so much so that even now, she gets the credit in our circle, but outside our circle, I don't want to say she's unknown, but she's not as known as she should be.
Exactly, and I saw some years ago. I guess it was ESPN or some other publication. I don't know what they are, but they were talking about the great female driver of all of motorsports, and I'm thinking, you ever heard of Shirley Muldowney?
Yeah,
I mean she's the lady who could win the race and the fight after the race.
Yes, and that's a part of it that I'm probably most interested in hearing about. You hear about the on-track stuff, right? Well, out there in the public eye, on the track, in the burnout box, in the pit area, some things are going to happen, but it's in a professional setting. What about over the road, traveling from city to city, barnstorming from here to there, back at the hotels, that's where the really annoying and negative for her stuff probably took place.
Yeah, and she doesn't touch too much on the off and away from the track, but she does talk about at the track. And she, I think she said it best, and it's in the preview. She said they didn't realize it through their own ignorance. The madder they made me, the better I got.
Wow. Well, tremendous. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited about the test. Let's talk about a couple of things that are going down. What's on your mind? I don't even want to direct you. We found out Courtney Forrest, speaking of lady racers who have had success stepping away from the sport, hopefully temporarily. Many of us still hoping Ashley comes back at some point, and they certainly have the right and the ability to do so. But we're losing Courtney. We're gaining, Austin Prock, maybe part-time. That's a bit of a bummer. Grubnick as crew chief for Brittany. A lot of motion happening, a lot of things happening. The Mountain Motor Pro Stock 4 events, Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. going 774, Stephen Bell's car. There's a whole raft of things that you could choose to talk about right now. What are you going to choose to talk to me about right now? Go.
What I want to choose to talk to you about, how everybody says the 1960s, 70s, and 80s were the glory days of drag racing. I call BS. Because those were the days that we had to look at National Dragster, which came 2 and 3 weeks late after the race, to see who won, and then look on to see on what syndicated channel that it comes on your local network.
Yeah.
When we have to wait till magazines to see what cars look like, the new cars. Whereas now, we're in the internet age. You type it in, you Google it, you can have it. And we've got something on drag racing on television every single day.
Wow.
And if you don't have it on television, you have it on the internet. So tell me how we are not living in the glory days. So what if we don't have 37 pro stockers? We only need 16.
Right.
So what if we don't have 40 top fuelers? We only need 16.
Yeah, or 20. We need 20. I would like 20.
So what?
Yeah.
So what if we have these multi-car teams? Well, guess what? Those multi-car teams, I know about 7 or 8 guys or ladies, they're able to race because of those multi-car teams that wouldn't be able to do it otherwise. So tell me once again how we're not living in the glory days of drag racing.
No, this is it. In fact, I had an exec from FCA on last year as we got ready for the Bandamere race, and he said that their market research department is telling them that drag racing as a sport right now is at its pinnacle, its peak. It's bigger than it's ever been in our society because of the shows, because of cable, because of the net, because of the NHRA, because of the desire for performance cars. And that's why, and this was in response to my question, like, why are you doing this, dude? Like, why now? Why 700 horsepower cars? Why 900 horsepower cars? What are you doing? Why? And he said, this is the time for drag racing. And we are going for it with drag racing. Not everybody can go run a road course. Road course guy, it takes a whole different experience to go be a road course guy than it does to be a drag race guy. And we've decided to focus on the drag race guy, says the folks at FCA. And I thought that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense.
You know what, Joe? If you could only eat a Whopper once a month because you were so broke, that would be the greatest Whopper you ever had. But if you had enough money, you could eat a Whopper every day. Yeah, it might not taste all that grand, all that spectacular, but it's still a Whopper every day.
Right.
Same thing with drag racing. When you could only see drag racing once every 2 weeks or something like that, or once every, God forbid, 6 months. We used to go all the way from like February to maybe March or April before we got to see a Diamond P Sports syndicated deal.
Yeah, you're. I like where you're going. You're definitely bringing the heat today. I sometimes find myself yelling at these people that we're talking to, like whoever. They probably are not WFO radio listeners, though. You know what I mean? Like the most tech savvy, early adopters, drag racing fans that really want to listen to this stuff and hear Bobby Bennett, whatever he's talking about. They're probably not the haters out there. The haters that you describe, and I see them out there, and I know, they're on the Facebook. They've adopted that one. But, yeah, it was better back in the day. How can they possibly? Like, we saw coverage from down under, like drag racing in Australia. Videos go around the world in a second. If you like this stuff, there's never been a better time.
Yeah, and you can sit, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but you can sit at your desk and watch Legends of Series without having to pop it in a VCR or a reel-to-reel tape or whatever the heck other kind of contraptions we had back then, or record the show with your mama's box, cassette recorder,
What?
We get to watch the show over and over and over, free of charge. At the click of a mouse.
Yeah, no, it's great. But then, listen, there are people, and it's a shame, but the glory days are always the days when they were at the pinnacle of their life. And it will be true. It will be true for others in the future as well. And it's just sad because I think about the kids that are out there, and people talk about drag racing is getting older, and yes, there are fans that are getting older, but back in the golden era, there was nobody there saying our era was better because there was no other era. It was brand new stuff. Now we're a sport that's 50 years old. And so, of course, you've got people going, well, back in my day, the kids today, they don't know from it. Let them enjoy it. Let them just enjoy it. I think of the Ashley Sanfords. You got a great story about Ashley and how she's done so well down under. This is what it is. We got, all these different categories. You had 40 pro stockers because you didn't have top sportsman, man. You didn't have pro mod. You didn't have all these choices and opportunities. There are people who choose to run stock eliminator because they love it. Back in the day, it wasn't such.
Well, guess what, Joe? You're never going to be able to buy gasoline at 50 cents a gallon. You're not going to be able to go to the movies for $3 or $1.50 for a ticket. I'm not going to be a finely chiseled 140-pound, first baseman hitting home runs at will. Guess what? Stuff changes. Life changes. And guess what? Nothing stays the same.
Nope. That's it.
We cried and cried and cried for the next level, and we got there. In fact, we got 2 levels up. Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. Totally
I guarantee you there's a whole group of NASCAR racers or NASCAR fans that they're not feeling too good about their ride.
Yeah, that is definitely something. And on our Ignition show, and I want to invite everybody to check it out, I spoke with Tony Stewart on Sunday. This past Sunday, he was at Fast Expo. And kind of an interesting story. I'll let people listen and hear. But Jeff Lutz from Street Outlaws was there, drag racer, and Tony Stewart was there. And there is that whole competing autograph line story that we hear about where people talk about the drag racers and the Street Outlaws and all that stuff. And it was very interesting. I spoke with Tony about, Formula One, about stock cars. I asked him if he's ever going to drive a top fuel dragster. He told me everyone can go listen. It's just a 3-minute interview, about 29 minutes into the Ignition show. But this sport, 2 cars, occasionally 4, accelerating to a finish line, has never been better positioned. What do you think about the Unfinished Business Legends Tour race at the Gator Nationals? Are you excited about it?
I think it's great. I think it's you don't want to live in your past, but you don't want to forget your past. You want to proclaim your past, showcase your past with an eye on the future. And I think that's something that every smart businessman in promotion can do. Look at your past, say, look how far we've come, look where we're at. And again, for like the football players making, $22 million a year, look at those guys who made $22,000 a year that built the foundation for which you live on today.
Yeah, and we are only going to get limited opportunities to have celebrations like this with these folks. Garlitz, Dad and I were talking about, whenever it happens, and hopefully Garlitz lives to be 130 years old. But the day that we lose Big Daddy, the day that we lose these legends, we are, it's good that we're celebrating them. It's good that we're letting them know we appreciate what they did. And, it was fun for them. They loved it. But it was not easy.
Joe, that's why I'm racing so hard, working at maybe what amounts to $1.14 an hour, making these Legends videos. So heaven forbid somebody like my great friend Tom the Mongoose McEwen passes. We can always go back and hear in his words how great our sport is.
There it is. Bobby
was and still is.
Yeah, and we'll continue. We'll continue to get better and better. I really feel like we're in an upswing, and I know my listeners feel that way. That's why they listen. Hopefully the CompetitionPlus.com readers feel that way. I read the comment sections, and most of the time I would say they feel that way. The internet is a place where people go to puke out their negativity. I get it. But bottom line is I'm excited about the Lucas Oil Winter Nationals in 2 weeks. I'm excited to watch the test here this week. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it, and I cannot wait to watch Shirley on Legends, the series.
20 years ago when we launched CompetitionPlus.com, 20 years ago, in September of 1999, we featured Shirley Muldowney in that very first issue, the unsinkable Shirley Muldowney, and how it comes full circle with an episode of Legends 20 years later, a full video documentary.
Yeah. Well, you got me teased. I'm very excited about it. Hopefully the WFO audience will go check out CompetitionPlus.com. Of course, a lot of great stories. Bobby also posts WFO. We get some of our listening audience through there. I appreciate that for many years, and I'm excited. Just between you and I, I'll be out there on the tour, 24 races. They have retained me, which I am excited about, and we are about to begin another journey that is the 2019 NHRA season. I'm excited to see out there and be out there and watch how it all develops.
Joe, I would like for all of your great listeners to make sure they go to Competition Plus TV on YouTube and click the subscribe button. So anytime we put up content, you're given a notification when something new's up.
There it is. I love it. Excellent work. Bobby, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
There he goes, Bobby Bennett, with us here on WFO Radio, CompetitionPlus.com. Yeah, download it and subscribe, and click subscribe on CompetitionPlus.tv. Do it, the YouTube channel. And WFO Radio has a YouTube channel as well. You may not know that. And what is happening now, since he brings it up, it is true. A lot of people get their audio content on YouTube, and you can listen to any WFO Radio show on YouTube, also in our mobile app on YouTube. And so you might want to do that. Subscribe.
This is WFO Radio.